Hey guys, I did not realize that the governor's response was happening right now. My apologies. Oof, I should have listened. Hold on. So I'm gonna watch it, and feel free to join me or catch the replay.
Himself, his family, his friends, the scale of the corruption is unprecedented. There's the cover-up of the Epstein files, the crypto scams, cozying up to foreign princes for airplanes and billionaires for ballrooms, putting his name and face on buildings all over our nation's capital. This is not what our founders envisioned, not by a long shot. So I'll ask again, is the president working for you? We all know the answer is no. But here's the special thing about America. On our 250th anniversary, we know better than any nation what is possible when ordinary citizens, like those who once dreamed right here in this room, reject the unacceptable and demand more of their government. We see it in the determination of students organizing school walkouts all across the country, whose voices are becoming so powerful that the governor of Texas seeks to silence them. We see it in the bravery of Americans in Minnesota standing up for their communities, from peacefully protesting in sub-zero temperatures to carpooling children to school so that their immigrant parents are not ripped away from them in the parking lot. As a mother of 3 school-age daughters, I am inspired by their bravery, but I am sickened that it is necessary. And Americans across the country are taking action. They are going to the ballot box to reject this chaos. With their votes, they are writing a new story, a more hopeful story. In November, I won my election by 15 points. And we won 13 new seats in our state legislature. Because voters decided they wanted something different. Our campaign earned votes from Democrats, Republicans, independents, and everyone in between. Because they knew as citizens they could demand more, that they could vote for what they believe matters, and that they didn't need to be constrained by a party or political affiliation. This is happening across the country. New Jersey elected Mikey Sherrill as governor in a double-digit victory. Democrats flipped state legislative seats in places like Georgia, Iowa, Mississippi, and Texas. The list goes on and on. Ordinary Americans are stepping up to run in the spirit of our forefathers. They are running to demand more and to do more for their neighbors and communities. I know this story well. I first ran for office in 2018 alongside dozens of other Democrats who did the seemingly impossible, flipping 41 seats in Congress. In my case, I was the first Democrat elected in 50 years, swinging our district 17 points. Those who are stepping up now to run will win in November because Americans, you at home, know you can demand more and that we are working to lower costs. We are working to keep our communities and our country safe, and we are working for you. In his farewell address, George Washington warned us about the possibility of, quote, cunning, ambitious, and unprincipled men rising to power. But he also encouraged us, all Americans, to unite in a common cause, to move this nation forward. That is our charge once more, and that is what we are seeing across the country. It is deeply American and patriotic to do so, and it is how we ensure that the state of our union remains strong, not just this year, but for the next 250 years as well, because we, the people, have the power to make change, the power to stand up for what is right, the power to demand more of our nation. May God bless the Commonwealth of Virginia, and may God bless the United States of America.
I don't know why my screen is black right now. That's odd. Hang on. I'm not sure. Hang on. Would you say the hold on, you guys. I'm not sure what happened. The Democrats are working hard to get rich. Something. I'm trying to see what they're saying about the speech. Let me see what I can find for you. But that was kind of weird that it just went out like that. Let me see. Kind of interested. I thought the governor's response was lame, to say the least. Let me see if I can find it for you. Let's just go here.
Trump accomplished what he needed to with the State of the Union.
Let's watch.
And did Spanberger accomplish what she needed to with her response?
Yeah, I'll knock out Spanberger answer real quick because these responses are always really tough. I think it was Rubio years ago had that water incident, which Trump used to mock him for mercilessly, and that's all people remembered of that one. I think Spanberger did pretty well for that. Not bad as the Democrats go. You don't want someone high profile like Newsom or Pritzker or AOC. You need somebody unifying. Pretty solid. Kept it tight. Very awkward pauses. Seemingly some problems with the teleprompter in there, but those things were always awkward. Did okay. Trump, surprisingly on a number of the text chains I was on, performed better than expected. And for Trump in particular, you get the sense that this is a legacy State of the Union. State of the Union. And you look at, take away the awards to the heroes up in the balconies, bring in the hockey team and whatnot. You take away all the stagecraft, and the meat of it really is a half and half of a look back on touted accomplishments and a look forward on promises like in Iran. Of things where, especially when you're looking at a second term, they only get so many times. Even a two-term president only gets so many times to walk back out through those double doors, out of the House chamber, through Statuary Hall. So this is one of the last big speeches he'll be giving, and you got the sense that he actually did pretty good. There was more teleprompter Trump than it was like UN speech Trump.
Yeah, and you can really say that you can kind of tell when we see the weave happening. He goes on script, and then sometimes he'll go in a way where you can tell he's kind of just talking from the hip there. Elizabeth Warren reacting. And this was one of those rare bipartisan moments, by the way, where we saw lawmakers on both sides giving applause. Let's talk a little bit about the speech and really the main priorities of a State of the Union. This State of the Union happens to be taking place in a midterm year. So when a president is crafting a speech, and again, this ended up being over an hour and 45 minutes long. This was the longest State of the Union speech in history. Does it feel like this speech invigorated the base? And does it feel like one of the priorities of this speech was the 2026 midterms and maintaining control of Congress?
Yeah, it's hairy going into the midterms, and frankly, in this environment, I'm not sure any State of the Union is going to move the needle one way or another. And again, I go back to I think that's why this is so important in terms of framing up the legacy as he thinks about wrapping up his time in office. If you look at things like opening up with affordability, playing up the markets, playing up the macro economy, especially investments and things of that nature. That was clearly focused on a midterm message, trying to address affordability, things that are really concerning voters, putting the heat on the Democrats with regards to the Department of Homeland Security funding, steamrolling them on the two shootings, Alex Preddy and Renee Good in Minneapolis, throwing meat back to his base on that. The big question going into the midterms, and we're going to see some really key. We're just right at the cusp of this right now. We're almost into March. We're going to start seeing some key metrics coming out of these primaries in terms of enthusiasm and whatnot. And one of the big concerns, of course, is that the Democrats are super enthusiastic, super inflamed, ready to go. Probably, similar margins potentially to what we saw back in November. That's a Spanberger referred to. The question for the Republicans is, can they get them to show up with the same fervor that they had in 2024? And we used to talk about soccer moms and Panera moms. You have a lot of swing votes, depressed voting, a one-time presidential turnout votes among younger voters, some concerns with what will happen with Latino voters. So those are all big X factors. And I really don't know that any State of the Union can address that. So certainly not with the way things are right now, certainly not with the polling as we see it.
You and I both know how short the memory is of voters. By the time election season comes around, the 2026 State of the Union in February was going to feel like it was a million years ago. Tom, good to connect with you tonight. We'll see you soon. Appreciate you.
You too. Thanks, Austin.
All right, and you can follow Tom's coverage at 24/7 News. Live look at the White House on this Tuesday evening, 11:30 on the nose in the nation's capital. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to take a commercial break. On the other side, lots more discussion about the State of the Union. We have a bipartisan panel coming up in a minute.
I do want to see what's going on with the panel. I forgot to tell you that they're about to have. Hey, Kenny. Hold on. Let me turn off this volume. Hey, Maverick. It's just, I just want to see what's going to happen with this calendar. Hang on. What's good? It was good, but normally I watch it after, but I wanted to watch it real time with you guys. I'm just gonna watch one more segment, but I hope that you guys are doing all right. I'm just kind of chilling right now as I'm listening to this. Let me see if it's back on.
All right, I'm Austin Westfall. Welcome back into Live Now, a live look at the White House as we continue on our conversation about the State of the Union. We still got this camera, by the way, in the rotunda watching as mostly media continue, and no doubt there's a little bit of mingling going on in there, perhaps a little bit of spin room type of stuff going on in there, like we would see after a presidential debate. A live look at the rotunda, by the way. Just a reminder, you just witnessed live with us the longest State of the Union in American history, an hour and 47 minutes long. Let's bring in our bipartisan panel. Jeanette Hoffman is a Republican strategist and president of Marathon Public Affairs. Kelly Hyman is a Democratic strategist and trial attorney. Let's see here, guys. So did tonight help the country, or did it just help a campaign? Kelly, we'll start with you.
Hopefully it helps both to give people an idea of what's coming in the midterm elections. So when we look at it from that way, I think it's really important to think about what issues are really going to affect the American people, because we elect these people to represent us. And we have to think about, is the president helping us? Is the president making our life better? How much is it costing us in the grocery store? Are things affordable? And these are key issues for the voters, and they got to see different perspectives. According to Trump, the economy is booming and everything's going along great. However, from the Democratic perspective, from the governor of Virginia, that there are issues that are going on that are affecting the American people, especially at the market. That it costs more to buy fruit. It costs more money to buy seafood. It costs more money to buy coffee. And those are real issues that are affecting the American people.
Jeanette, did President Trump address those issues head on tonight? Did he speak about what matters most to his constituents, Americans?
I think so. I think, listen, voters have a very short memory. And what President Trump had to do tonight, and I think he did so well, he has a great job of stagecraft and bringing in real people to show the policies that are working, is he reminded people why they voted for him on the economy, on security, on foreign policy. And then he laid out what he did. So, for example, he brought in a woman who was trying for infertility treatments, and those costs were slashed in half. He also brought in a mom who was working overtime, and she has $5,000 more in her pocket thanks to no tax on tips. So all these stories, he talked about how Americans now have more money in their pockets. Not only did he do that, but he also provided a roadmap of how Americans are going to have more money in their pockets going forward by, Trump retirement accounts. Most Americans don't have retirement accounts right now. And in the future, thanks to President Trump's proposals, they will going forward. So all of these things, I think he needs to remind Americans of what he's done so far and provide a roadmap to the future.
Did he provide a roadmap for the future, Kelly?
He provided a roadmap of what he believed was going to happen in the future as well, and he did say that. But I think that one of the highlights for me was to see our veterans. We had two gentlemen there that were 100 years old, or going to be 100 years old, that served our country, and that was such a great thing to someone who sacrificed so much for our country. We as a country have veterans that serve our country and do so much to make our lives better. And a lot of them give the ultimate sacrifice. So to see the veterans there was so powerful, and it was wonderful to see that. Also, the U.S. winning the gold, the men's hockey team were there as well. And hopefully this can unite our country rather than divide our country, and that Congress can work together in order to help the American people, because we vote for these people, we elect them into office. And so it's important that they represent our interests. It's important that they make sure that our lives are better.
Did this speech expand the coalition, the GOP coalition, Jeanette? There's been a lot of discussion and a lot of reporting out there to suggest that there are divides in the GOP. Did this feel like this did anything to quell those statements? And to some degree, I guess another question here would be, did President Trump unify his party and energize the base for November?
I think so. I think this was a very energetic speech. I mean, first of all, it was record breaking in its length. I mean, almost 2 hours. And it covered so many important topics for all Americans, not just the Republican Party, but economic security, domestic security, foreign policy, talking about Iran. I mean, that's going to be a very important issue in the next coming weeks. Talking about voter security, which Democrats couldn't stand up for, calling out the Democrats for supporting massive tax increases that have led to inflation, talking about supporting American citizens and making sure that they have the sanctity of life and their lives are protected. And sadly, there was the mom of the North Carolina woman who was murdered on the train by someone who was arrested 14 times. So safety and security are so important to all American families. And President Trump really did a great job of not only laying out his policies and his plans for the future, but bringing in real people that are impacted by these policies. So I think it was he really did a great job of making his case for his own party, but also some unifying moments that Kelly talked about with our veterans, with the Israeli hostages. All of them are now home from America. So that's also something great to talk about.
One more rapid fire question before we got to go. I want to ask both of you the same question. What is one political, really, risk? What is a political risk that was exposed tonight from the Democrat perspective first, Kelly?
Trump painted a picture that the economy is booming, that the economy is doing great. Now, there are statistics that are showing on some issues otherwise. And so that could be a risky move about the economy and how people are affected at the grocery store, how people are affected when they buy soap detergent, and how it's costing them the cost of living, whether it's they're paying their electricity or housing cost. It was a risky move.
A political risk you saw from the GOP side of things, Jeanette?
As a Republican, the behavior I saw from some of the congressional Democrats was absolutely appalling. Ilhan Omar shouting out, Democrats refusing to stand on common sense issues like, do you feel that American citizens' lives need to be protected above all? I mean, these are just common sense issues. And I think a line that's going to stick with a lot of is President Trump saying these people are crazy. So it's just a lot of common sense that the Democratic Party is lacking, and a total lack of decorum and a lack of respect for our government, frankly, that was shown by the Democratic Party.
All right, I wish we had more time. Jeanette Hoffman is a Republican strategist and president of Marathon Public Affairs. Kelly Hyman, a Democratic strategist and trial attorney. Thanks for the time tonight.
Thanks, Austin.
All right, so we have to take a quick commercial break. Of course, one thing that I'm tracking closely during any major event like this, did we get any indicators about global affairs, Iran specifically, Venezuela specifically?
Woo, you guys. All right, let me go, and looks good for me. That's all I care about, selfish mentality. I don't know. Let me go so I can make a video and recapture this speech. And Democrats have ruled this country. Don Jones, I'm trying to tell you. And when I go live and I speak, anybody can come up here and speak. Hit the link, talk to me about their views instead of just insulting from the chat. I really don't respect that. Because I can stand on everything I say, everything I talk about. The reason I stopped what I was listening to right now is because I prefer to listen. Good morning, Project. tell y'all, I prefer to listen to the politicians' mouths and their words themselves versus listening to commentary, because I can give commentary. You guys don't need people to think for you. Donald Trump delivered an amazing speech, you guys. Amazing. No teleprompter, just speaking from the heart. My favorite moment was when he was giving an award to those veterans. That was like a very real moment for me. They don't stand for Americans, it seemed. Maverick. Gerby, what'd you say? No more inside trading. Trump and his incompetent stuff. Incompetent. Gerby, are you okay? Are you okay? Anyway, that was a great speech, you guys. Let me go and break that down, and maybe I will do my late night stream tonight, but let me see what the conservative spaces are saying. I don't see how anyone could have watched this speech and not have felt something from it. Make America great again. Be mad at me. But no one's talking about the Trump accounts. No one's talking about how these kids could have over 180,000 in their accounts by the time they're 18 years old, which where else would they have been given that opportunity? Where else? Chill, Will. Stop what? Black History Month would have been cool. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. All right, you guys. I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.